Captain's Log, Episode 90. This week's episode of the Brewvengers podcast is sponsored by the Beer and Cheese Collective, located at 35-11 Ditmars Boulevard in Astoria, Queens. Enjoy their eclectic array of craft beer, artisanal cheeses, and specialty grocery items at the Beer and Cheese Collective. Home bar to yours truly, Captain Porter Brown Stout. On this 6-pour episode, we welcome the Globehopper back to talk about his new position as host of the City Brew Tours Beer Club podcast. And since this episode was recorded immediately after their most recent episode, where the Globehopper welcomed the captain as co-host, this is the essential crossover episode you never knew you needed, but always craved. Remember to like, star, and subscribe whenever that feels appropriate. And send us your emails at thebeervengers@gmail.com if you have any questions, suggestions, or if you just like hearing us talk about you on the show. And now, without further ado, please enjoy episode 90, City Brewvengers.
Oh, we're the Beervengers, Beervengers. We are the Beervengers.
Welcome to the Beercast, everyone. Coming to you from an undisclosed location in Astoria, Queens, I am Captain Porter Brown Stout.
And coming to you from an undisclosed location in Fresno, California, this is the Pale Male Hophead Huck.
And coming to you from an undisclosed location in the County of Kings, it is I, the Beer Wonder.
And coming to you from an undisclosed location in the borough of Brooklyn, it's me, the Globehopper.
And we are
the Beer
Okay, that was a thing.
Yeah, I like that one. I liked the We got it was like Talk Like a Pirate Day, kind of, but not quite.
Yeah, I'm happy with it.
I know. We done good. We done good, gentlemen. We done good.
Yes, we did. Welcome all the Beervengers out there in the world. Also want to welcome anyone who's following us over. We'll tell you a little bit more about this in a minute, but Jonathan is the new
who's Jonathan?
I'm sorry. You see,
this
is the problem because we were using our real names on that podcast. The Globehopper
there we go.
is the new host of the beer, the brews. No, see, this is
City Brew Tours.
City Brew Tours Beer Club podcast.
There you go.
He hosted. He was gracious enough to invite me on as a co-host, and we went from there to here. We invited anyone from that show to come on over to this one to see what the next beers we're having over the course of the evening. And so if you're here from the City Brew Tours Beer Club podcast, welcome as well. You're now a Brewvenger because you're listening to us.
CBTBC? CBTBC.
Yeah. Yes,
CBTBC.
That is it. CBTBC.
When you do it fast, it's really fun to say, but it takes a couple seconds to get it in your mouth.
Yeah. Globehopper and I just had a nice fest beer as well as a Tennessee IPA.
Yeah.
Ooh, what's a Tennessee? We'll have to talk about that. What's a Tennessee IPA?
It's a lot like a Midwest one.
Declare. Well, I would love to have an India Pale Ale about now.
Do they elect a Democratic governor, even though they were like everyone else Republican? Is that how this works?
It's a very hoppy beer. It's got a lot of IBUs.
The IBU count is very high. What's the temperature today?
Despite the fact that apparently there are a lot of people who live in Nashville who aren't actually from Nashville, so who knows how prevalent that accent is. But that's a whole other story. Based on what you've heard from me so far, I don't know if this is necessarily the best idea or the greatest idea. But I think it's time we move on to the pours.
Yes. I know. I was going to say, and I usually would say Globehopper should go first, but honestly, I think that Huck and I need to catch up.
I think you do. I think you do need to catch up. That's fine.
I don't mean to be impolite. That's my whole thing.
That is. I'm 100% with you there.
Okay, well, Huck, since you're in the future or in the past, I guess in the past,
In
that's
the
where you are.
past.
Why don't you catch up even more?
I'm just starting my evening here. So, in my quest to continue to bring new breweries to this show, I think we haven't had this brewery. It's Altamont Beer Works.
Oh, cool. Great
Maybe
can
that.
art, too.
Wait, they don't make the Speedway Stout. No, that's another. Is that a different? That's a different one.
No, that is Alesmith.
Alesmith, great. So there's so many A named breweries out here, but Altamont is
A.
from Livermore, California. If you know about the Altamont Pass, it's a road that you have to go over to cross from the valley into the Bay Area, and it's very beautiful. And the Altamont Speedway, where they famously had the music festival,
Oh yeah,
where
that's my biggest association with
people
Gimme
were
Shelter.
killed
Yeah.
by Hell's Angels. Oh, everybody be cool, all right? That's my Mick Jagger. All right. Anyway, this is called the.
perfect.
Speaking of Jagger, and this is really kind of throwback to that era. It's circa 1969. It says so. I think this is kind of a. It's called Shot Away. It's definitely a kind
Ooh,
of Jagger.
Just
Jagger
a
vibe.
shot out. Yeah, it's from Gimme Shelters. Completely.
Just
It's
a
got the
shot
peace
away. Let's
symbol
give it
on
a
the front
try.
of the can.
It is a West Coast style IPA, 6.5%.
ooh,
Yeah.
hello, hello.
Nice West Coast style haziness. Oh, then it clears
yeah.
up.
It really does.
There you go. And I got my classic beer and cheese glass.
Yeah, pretty fluffy
Perfect.
head on that one.
Peace and love, y'all.
Peace and love.
Very nice. All right, Beer Winter, what do you got?
Well, I got kind of a fun one tonight. I've got a collaboration beer from our friends at 18th Ward, which I know we've definitely seen around the Brewvengers for a bit, but
Sure.
also in collaboration with our buddies at Beer Wax, which is a
yeah.
favorite, I believe, of the Globe Hoppers, or at least I feel like we have spent some time discussing them.
Oh yeah,
Yep.
I've been there a few times.
Maybe just once or twice. Yeah, but this is a collaboration beer that they did that is was celebrating an album called No Caps by Meticulous. And so they actually made a beer in honor of it, and they did a launch party at the brewery. So I have their special IPA. It is an IPA, 1 pint, 7% alcohol, and I'm excited to see what they have done. Because, we do love a music or a film crossover here on the Brewvenger sphere. So let's see what a launch beer looks like. Also, there is a QR code on the can, so you can download the record off of whatever your preferred music spot is. So she's definitely hazy.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, it's not clearing up at all. No, it's just haze.
Yeah.
It's just orange. It's just orange juice, y'all. It really is. It is just orange juice done correctly, musically appropriate. That's what we're doing today.
That's quite beautiful.
I know.
We got a theme going. Music,
We do.
Music-based IPAs.
I know.
Right.
I like it.
Music-themed
Well,
IPAs, I should say.
Well, since it is the Globe Hopper is our guest today. And
Yes.
since now it's just the two of us, I appreciate your moving away from the format specifically, but since it's been the two of us, I think I should let the Globe Hopper go first.
That does seem correct. That does
Yeah.
seem right.
Well, I appreciate that, Captain. So I do have a Czech style Pilsner
Ooh.
from Obetz. It is not going to look like it says Obetz because it's OBEC.
Mhm.
We can get into that in a little bit. But I've enjoyed their porter. So let's
Ooh.
see how their Pilsner is.
That was an aggressive crack, and I liked
It
it.
was so good.
Mm-hmm. Oh, and this is
that's
not
great.
what I'm expecting from a Pilsner.
I
This-
will say
This
I
is
am-
very orange almost.
Amber color there.
Yeah.
And there's the clarity.
But
though.
there's the clarity, yeah. And the head is delightfully fluffy. It is a really pretty looking
Oh, yeah.
beer.
And
It
I'm gonna
absolutely is
spin
gorgeous.
this, even though we have the title.
Uh-huh.
There's the lovely little
Oh
can
my-
art of a
Oh, that's
lovely
great.
lady on
Oh,
there.
There is a lovely lady. I'm sure we will get to the story of who she is and why she's there.
Honestly,
perhaps?
I have no idea,
Oh.
but she is carrying barley.
Oh,
So
that tracks. Checks all the boxes.
Excellent. All right. Well, my beer is a
Sponsored pour.
That's right, a sponsored pour from the Beer and Cheese
No way.
Collective, 35-11 Ditmars Boulevard. And this is part of the ongoing series for the provider to get us every single version of this beer. So once again, we have the Collective Arts Origin of Darkness.
Oh my
And this
gosh.
is the collaboration with Bellwood Brewery. This is a wheated bourbon barrel-aged imperial stout with dulce de leche.
Ooh. That feels appropriate for the season.
I think so too.
You know, we are in
Yeah.
November. It is November 14th, so I'm expecting something like more fall themed and spicier. Oh, and it's delivering for sure. That is a dark, thick pour.
With that nice little subtle head there.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So gentle, so sweet.
And
Just showing up right at the end. Well,
There you
gorgeous.
go.
And also lovely can art. Like, we do have to acknowledge that Collective Arts always has a solid approach on their can art.
Yes, they do.
Mhm.
All right.
All right,
I'm not
have
even
a
sure
drink.
what it's a can't see what I think it's 11.8% ABV.
Ooh.
All right. Cheers, Beer Vengers.
Cheers.
Cheers.
Slancha.
Kampai.
Oh, that's very nice.
Ooh. Ooh.
Mm.
My favorite part of the show.
Ooh. There's a lot happening here.
Yeah,
It goes
here
from
too.
sweet. It goes from sweet to bitter
Yes.
in a really distinct way. It starts as orange juice and ends as pine forest. Like and it's a direct. It's like we took a trip from a fruit field into like the Pacific Northwest. It's very, and it happens quickly. I'm intrigued, y'all. This beer is a journey. This beer is singing a song in my mouth, and honestly, that's probably what they were going for. So I would have 2 of these while listening to any album you put in front of me, but probably No Cap would be the correct choice in this case.
But my question is, if it's singing a
Yes.
song in your mouth,
Yes.
what genre of song is it?
I mean, it's punk rock. See, it
Okay.
starts sweet,
Oh.
right? It starts sweet. It starts joyous. It starts
Mm.
juicy and wonderful, and then it just like punches you in the face with that like intense bass, and it just shows up, and you kind of want to headbang a little bit. But then you take another sip, and you're like, oh, we're back to something sweet.
Excellent.
It's a journey. It's very East Village. I'd say that.
How's that Altamont?
I'll tell you what, it's got a real nice bitter finish, but then it just kind of lingers with a warmth at the end. Nice piney and juicy flavors. It's not overpowering. You know, I do like it with a little bit more punch, but it's a smooth drinking, light body. I dig it. I dig it, and I just love the theme of it because it is about the Altamont concert. It says right here at 1969.
Mm.
The beer is not dated 1969, but it has El Dorado and Citra, Summit, and Simcoe. So those 4 hops in there. It's a very modern beer with a real throwback vibe. You imagine that what beers they were drinking at the Altamont concert.
Not
that beer,
IPAs.
No.
I have to look into that. How would we find out? It's probably like Budweiser.
Yeah, I don't know. Yeah, Budweiser, or I imagine those Hell's Angels that were hired to be the security team were probably drinking Jack Daniels straight out of the bottle.
Right. Yeah. Not heavy, not big on the head here. It's kind of a mellow head that kind of floats away kind of quickly.
Yeah.
But it doesn't hurt the flavor too much. So I dig it. I tried Altamont again. Another thing with Altamont, they got their symbol is the windmills. Because when you go over the pass, you do see that the hills are covered in those giant industrial windmills, bringing that power to the surrounding towns.
So I have a thought on what beers they would be drinking. Do we think they might be drinking an Anchor Steam? Do we think that they had classed it up to that level?
I doubt
Bro
it.
Popper says no, it looks like.
I'm saying no.
Yeah, especially because the Anchor was still at that time was just coming back.
Yes.
Even though it had been around, they were they were built by Maytag. They were bought by Maytag, and that happened I believe that happened in the 60s. They were bringing it back.
Yes.
So it was very early in for craft beers. Anchor gets a lot of credit for that, but I don't think they would get them over to the massive concert.
See, I like to.
Oh,
go ahead, Hopper.
I would say, would I be wrong in thinking that it would be less beer and more of an herbal substance that would be consumed?
The Hopper, he knows. He's correct.
Isn't that the concert where they said don't take the brown acid? Oh, that was Woodstock.
I think that was Woodstock.
That was Woodstock.
Same year.
I think overall, the idea that like Woodstock was the mellow concert, even though I'm sure there was some ugly shit there too, but generally speaking, Altamont was always referred to as sort of the anti-Woodstock. It's like
Yeah,
those are the two sides of the coin. This is like peace and love and happiness, and here's a place where someone gets murdered by a Hell's Angel.
300
Yeah.
300,000
Definitely hard
people.
liquor. Yeah,
Well,
definitely
that's
hard
the way
liquor.
you're going to go. I mean, honestly, they used to have a nice clubhouse. Speaking of the East Village, they used to have a nice clubhouse in the East Village, and now they're gone from that. It's turned into law school apartments.
Yeah,
Yeah.
capitalism.
I know.
Rah-rah.
Hell's Angels.
Anywho,
Santana, Jefferson Airplane, Flying
See?
Burrito Brothers, Crosby, Stills and Nash, and the Rolling Stones. Pretty
yeah,
good.
but I think the Dead left. I think the Dead showed up, and they were like, and they just got the vibe for what was going on. I was like, no,
Yeah.
we're fucking leaving. I think
That's
that's part of the
exactly right.
story.
That's
Yeah.
exactly what happened.
Ike and Tina Turner were there too.
Nice. And there's a movie called Gimme Shelter, which is
Yes,
Uh,
that's why I know that, because I've seen that movie, and
it's a good film.
It is. It is.
It's a great
there's a
music
scene
film,
where-
and then this thing happens at the end. But
there is this. There, I can't remember what the song is, but Tina Turner is essentially filleting a microphone.
Oh, no.
Well, I'm
That-
saying not.
that-
Actually, she's more giving it a hand job than actively filleting it, but there's definitely that imagery involved in it.
I got you.
Well, that's part of the journey. Well, hey, Globe Hopper,
journey.
how is
Yes.
that? How is that Pilsnering?
Very, very well. So one thing, I'll show this.
Oh.
Oh, the lacing.
The
Oh, yeah.
lacing is beautiful on this,
That's
which
tremendous.
I do not expect on a Pilsner at all. It is also a little bit darker.
Yeah.
The captain and I were talking about this on the previous podcast.
Mhm.
Our lighting is off, so my beers always look darker than his do.
Yeah, we were having the
but-
exact same beer a couple of times, and mine always came out lighter than his.
So this looks like amberish today. It's still very golden.
Yeah.
But it is on the hazier side for a Pilsner. But it is lovely. It's light, very mild citrus, little bit of that bite you want from a Czech Pilsner on the finish, but
Yeah.
just not enough to be overpowering with what I'm calling American Pilsners, which are a new thing, which we can go into.
Yeah, we talked about that a little bit. Yeah.
Yeah,
We have
and I've
to-
also been experiencing New Zealand Pilsners recently.
Oh,
I like the idea of that.
so are we defining that by the hop or by the?
By the hop. By the
okay,
hop.
got it. Okay.
Yeah, so they're using New Zealand hops with that. Usually that's going to be, what are those?
Motueka.
Montoya, and then there's with a W.
Yeah.
You know which one.
Yeah,
Wakata.
Wakata,
Yeah. And Waimea. And so there's
Ruaka is another one.
Ruaka, yeah. So those are a little more like earthy pilsners. So this one is very classic to the Czech style, very traditional. But just like I'm already halfway through. Let's just be honest.
Tell us about
Yeah.
the brewery, if you would.
So yeah, Obets. So because this is a crossover episode, I actually talked to the owners and the head brewer and owner of Obets Brewing on the City Brew Tours podcast, City Brew Tours Beer Club podcast.
CBTBC.
CBTBC. A couple weeks ago.
If we had some vowels in there, we could like Sibat. No, no. I'll think about it. I'll work it out.
My
here.
computer does not like all those letters together because it just thinks that I'm repeating them unnecessarily because it's just CBTBC. But with that,
back. I don't know.
Cababa?
Cabotback. All right, there you go.
Cababa. We'll figure out.
But you spoke to the brewer, yes.
Yeah.
Also, for those listening, me and Captain are a couple in already.
Yes.
Um,
2.5
but I was-
at least at this point.
Yeah, I was talking with the head brewer a couple weeks ago. We were interviewing them on the podcast, and he is a home brewer. So he started. So we kicked it off right away as
And
an
Globe
average
Hopper, I think
brewer.
you said this already. Which city is that again?
That was Seattle.
Okay.
Oh,
I
nice.
don't think I actually said it.
Okay, good. I wasn't sure if I
yeah.
just wasn't listening. So thank you
No,
for
that's
that's something
Seattle.
I often discover in editing. Like, I asked a question of something he just said.
I did not say it. So they are based out of Seattle. They're in an area where there's like 3 or 4 breweries, lots of bars. So you can really similar to those of us in New York, like the Gowanus
Nice.
Crawl. Basically,
Hmm.
kind of that same vibe. So you can kind of just go stumble from brewery to brewery. But he was a home brewer and eventually was like, should I make the jump? I'm afraid to make the jump. And his wife was like, just do it. And so he did it.
Yeah.
And he then was, as he was going through and getting all the equipment, there was a lovely friend just a brewery down the road that was, he would be able to call up and be like, hey, so I just got this equipment. What is it? And he'd be like, oh, so that's XYZ, that's this, that's this. He's like, okay, cool. So they were able to kind of go with it, but the name Obets
Okay.
is OBEC. I personally was like, oh, is it an anagram? Like, what does that
Yeah,
mean?
yeah, yeah.
That is Czech for community. And so
Oh,
they
That's cool.
really they wanted to make a space that was a community, that was where
nice.
people could come, bring in family, and like create that place that you can just come and hang out. And so after going through different names, but every name was like a little bit longer than the other, he was bike riding and was like, oh, Opets. He's like, we want to do classic Czech European style beers,
Yeah.
and Obets just fits with that name. And as soon as he said it, him, his wife, his partner, they were like, that's the name. And so they also do pretty much all European classic traditional beers.
Cool.
I had their porter, which is porter number 3. It's the only porter they do, but it's an English porter. And the reason it's porter number 3 is because it took him 3 tries to get it right. So the first
Makes
one was like
sense.
not right. Second one
I
was
love that.
pretty close, and the third one, everyone was like, "Yeah, that's an English
That's the
porter."
one. Nice.
And so it's porter number 3.
I do love when a brewer is willing to take that kind of risk with their beer. I remember our friend at Circa Brewing Company, who I know you and I got to know pretty well, who would just kind of like keep trying things until they worked and sort of take an accident and make it happen. I always love when that's part of the story of a beer.
Yeah, it also makes me think about Ebbs, since they've
Mhm.
really fully embraced that. And I actually have a story about one of theirs, but before I get into that, I do want to talk about this
I was going to say, we need to
really.
hear about your beer.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, memory is a tricky thing, but this
Yeah.
might be my favorite one of the ones we've had so far. Of
Oh,
this one, I really like the ones from Burial and Dujis, but this one, Bellwoods Brewery, by the way, I was just looking it up. They're out of Toronto,
okay.
and Collective
Wow.
Arts is in Hamilton, Ontario. So
Got it.
they're neighbors. But yeah, there's just
Like you do.
something about this one that it's just the perfect amount of sweet. It's like it's not like
Huh.
as often as I bitch about pastry stouts, this is sweet, but it's just the right amount. It's not overly there. It's got just that dulce de leche thing. I mean, honestly, I think one of the best when we talked about the whole black is beautiful thing. One of the best ones I ever had of
Right.
that was a dulce de leche, and I think that is just it's a little the sort of the darker sweets as opposed to like the like overly sugary or like white sugar stuff. This is more of
Yeah.
maybe a brown sugar or I don't know. I don't know what goes into a dulce de leche, but and I don't know what makes it weeded.
No one
Oh,
does.
but bourbon barrel aged too. I'm sure the bourbon barrel aged tempers that sweetness as well. But this is a fantastic beer.
Right on.
Well, so because I think dulce de leche, and I'm immediately in like fall flavors a little bit. I'm
Yeah,
immediately in like Day of the Dead kind of stuff. Like
right.
that's the world that I'm in. And is it doing that kind of transportative experience for you? Does it
Okay,
give you?
so yeah, Day
Is
of
it
the
a
Dead.
churro?
Because when you say fall, I think slightly lighter colors, but when you say Day of the Dead, I go darker.
Well, see,
Eh,
because that's October 31st, right? That's Halloween. So like now we've got
sure.
it's the crossover phase.
But like when I think fall, I think sweaters, sweater weather, uh,
Ugh,
pumpkin spice lattes, and but
ugh.
then like yeah, but Day of the Dead is like fuck, let's go dark now.
Well, yeah.
And
Fresno is like Day of the Dead Central. I mean, everything out here year round
yeah,
is Day of the Dead themed.
Oh, really?
Yeah,
That's kind of cool.
it is. I mean, it's very Mexican here.
Well, yeah, I guess that would make
Not
sense.
that there's anything wrong with it.
Oh my
yeah.
gosh.
So dulce de leche is made from milk and sugar cooked slowly until it thickens and caramelizes, and I think that caramelization is part of what darkens that flavor a little bit. I mean, you can have really sweet caramel, but yeah, I feel like I'm just starting to repeat myself again. But this is just a really good beer.
Good. And I know you say memory sort of plays tricks on you, but we're feeling like it is the continuation of the
I mean,
narrative.
they all definitely are kin to one another.
Okay.
And funny thing is that like I had all four of these when they first came out. Not all. I didn't have cans of all of them,
Uh-huh.
but Jared, our friend from Sweet Avenue, he
Yes.
had all of them, and he was offering flights. And I
Oh,
tried
okay.
all of them, and I remember deciding then which was my favorite. But I don't remember what I said then. I should have like written it down. But it's very likely that this one was in my top two. And I just say that because I've only had three of them recently, and I'm sure the provider will give me the next one soon, and we'll see how that one holds up. But yeah, this one I think is the best one so far.
The trilogy will become a quadrilogy.
Well, if that's a word, sure.
Saga, right?
Saga. Thank you. Globe Hopper keeping us honest. I appreciate that.
Yes.
Well, Globe Hopper, I know you've had a fun recent addition in your adventures in Beervenging, which is that you have taken on this podcast that we keep talking about, CBTVC. You want to tell us a little bit about how that came about and like what is going on over there?
Yeah, so I have recently taken over the City Brew Tours Beer Club podcast, and I'm gonna say extravaganza.
That's
Altogether,
that's
I
all right.
don't think that's too. I don't think that's too hyperbolic a word. Yeah.
yeah,
For folks who
yeah,
don't, it is an extravaganza. It really
yeah,
is.
It
yeah.
truly
So
is.
it basically came out of with the strike that was happening, where even though I am not an actor
Or
or
a
a
writer.
writer, I work in the film. I deal with logistics, and so basically I had some free time, let's say
Yeah.
that. And they were in need of a host slash organizer. And so it was a mutual benefit of I get to meet people, do some work, get paid, and get beer. So it's kind of like works out all around. So I took up to be able to lead the podcast as well as find new breweries, which there are some really, really good ones coming up
Fun.
in the next couple months. So after the new year, we have some fun cities that I cannot mention just yet.
Nice.
Look forward to
But
hearing about it. Yeah.
yeah, but and also they might show up at some tastings within the small
Ooh.
group.
Oh,
We
So
like
yeah,
that. We enjoy that.
Huck, you're just gonna have to make a trip out.
yeah.
That's what it is.
We keep
Or I'll
trying to
just
get him to do that, and every time I mention it, I feel like we're getting a little closer to it.
Yeah. It's hard.
yeah.
It's hard. Huck's
Someday.
got feelings.
Someday.
Or Huck, I'll just bring you on as a co-host, and then you get the beer.
See, that's also a good move.
So
Yeah.
That'd be great.
yeah,
Make someone else pay to ship the beer to him.
exactly.
Even though, but here's the thing. So here, really, if you're going to do that, can you just get a box big enough for the three of us, and then we can just hop in the box and like get there?
yeah,
There we go. Yeah.
See, there you go. And it's
Yeah.
going to be expensive shipping fee, but it's probably cheaper than the flights.
it's
I mean, honestly, the
Is
whole time
it?
we were
Is
talking
it?
about
It's
Nashville,
honestly, you're probably right.
on the Globe Hopper on the episode we were just doing in Nashville, I said several times. I say this every time I do the thing, and I mean it, even though I haven't really done it. Is that every time I get on one of these things, I say I want to go there and do that. I want to go to Nashville. I want to have hot chicken and beer. and that weird what was that cocktail we were talking about again?
The Bushwhacker.
The Bushwhacker. Yeah, that sounds
Good
like
golly,
that.
Miss Molly.
Oh,
Gotta get that. Yeah.
yeah. No,
Okay,
Beer Wonder. I feel like it'd be right up your alley.
So what's in the Bushwhacker? Because I'm already ready to go. But like, what is?
So think of it as an alcoholic milkshake.
Yes,
Yeah,
please.
it's like a smoothie kind of a thing. Yeah.
Yeah, so it's blended ice, chocolate, Kahlua,
Mhm.
rum,
Mhm.
and they are basically diabetes and alcoholism in
Yes.
if they had a baby in a
Oh.
frozen beverage.
This is really. This is success as far as I'm concerned.
Yeah, they are great. I've had too many of them,
Good.
and always regret, but not regret.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
No apologies. No
No
regrets.
no regrets. No
I
regrets.
do want to say one other thing about the you being appointed the new host of that show is that I mentioned this on the other podcast is that we've had people hosts of that show on our show before, so people who were hosts of that show became Beervengers after they were hosts of the show. You were
That's
the
true.
first pre-existing Beervenger to become a host of
Yeah.
that show.
Yeah.
So,
Which
we're
just
very
means
influential. Yeah.
It's gonna just create a system of crossover episodes.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. We're
just
becoming
moving
the
forward.
Beervenger cinematic universe or whatever, or which would be the the Beervenger podcast universe. We're
The
all
BPC.
like, the BPC or BPU.
There's so many acronyms, y'all. You're gonna break me with all the acronyms
Well,
we've got going on here.
since the Marvel Cinematic Universe is dying, we can take whatever one we want to do.
It's gonna be the CBTBC BVEU.
You know
we
what?
go.
I'm just gonna leave.
That's it.
Well, congratulations, Club Hopper.
Yeah.
I'm so excited. And I was going to say, is there anything you can tease our listenership, our listener base, with, or anything you want to sort of like? I know that like the holiday boxes are coming out,
Yeah.
which are always a big hit. But is there anything else you want to sort of mention?
So I will say in the new year, we are hitting new cities that have not been featured. However, January is going to be a very popular beer city, but has not ever been on the podcast.
Fun. Okay.
Well, I know that shortly after it got rebranded, that they did start repeating some cities. Like I know they went to Cincinnati again, which was their first one ever.
Yeah.
But there's so many. That's the thing is you can only get some of these cities you go to. You can only get so many great breweries from those cities.
Yeah, and that is a problem, or whether it's a good breweries or breweries that have the capability to ship at volume as well.
Right. That's always a challenge, right? When you're dealing with mass distribution. Yeah.
Right. And even though it's only a couple beers, that some, like a lot of the breweries here in New York or in other cities, they only brew, maybe they only can once a quarter or once or twice a year. And so even canning that much in advance is difficult. So that's always is kind of the part of bringing in my experience of doing logistics is talking with them of figuring out how can we make this work? How can we make this a beneficial partnership? Which is fun. It's kind of
matters.
It's fun.
Yeah, absolutely. So, well, with thinking of smaller cities, is Fresno on the docket?
It should be. We got good breweries here.
It should be. Maybe soon.
Or definitely Santa Rosa. It sounds like that's a really good one.
Well, Santa Rosa's like the Burlington, Vermont of.
Yeah, but if you're not in
beer
California, no one knows what Santa Rosa is. So I think that would be a wonderful, like, undiscovered by the rest of the country.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, the beer heads know about Russian River, but there's Moonlight and there's Hen House and there's about 6 or 7 others in the city. So
what I'm saying is I would have known how great Santa Rosa was if not for the beers you bring on the show.
That's true. That's true. You are educating the people, and
I've only been to the city once.
Yeah, we are truly bi-coastal podcast at this point.
But the Frez has got we've got some good breweries here, and there's some I haven't had on the show, like Summer Fox, because they don't can.
Yeah.
So I've never brought. But I mean, I could get a crowler or a growler, and I'll have to do that one of these days because they are one of my favorites in town. And we also have Full Circle, which I haven't had on. Interesting with Full Circle, they're kind of a small brewery here in town, and they have a downtown location, which is really a venue. So they do a lot of events and concerts, and they just recently bought Prohibition Brewing out of San Francisco. You know about that, Jonathan.
Mm-hmm.
They're known for
Yeah.
the Prohibition Ale, or the Big Daddy IPA is
Mhm.
another one. Kind of an old school brewery, talking about early aughts kind of brewery.
Yeah.
You might have had one at Pony back in the day.
Mm.
But this little brewery in Fresno bought that sort of big brewery. So it's interesting. So they've got some money behind them over at Full Circle. They even bought another space in the Tower District, which is like our East Village kind of vibe. They bought it, they put their name on it, and they never opened it. So it's just kind of this
Oh,
venue that sits empty. And I'm told by older folks in the town that it's really a legendary venue. I think it used to be called Arthur's or something like that, and it was like a place where a lot of bands would come through, and yeah, hopefully they'll open that up because we can always use more venues in town for sure.
we do love a venue.
It's a funny little town, the biggest little city in the world.
So are you saying that the brewery is called Prohibition, or the beer that they have that's most popular is called Prohibition?
The brewery is Prohibition. They have
Okay.
the Prohibition Ale is there. They're
I
all
see.
very all of them
Well,
are
it's funny because I found a
crime
beer.
themed.
Yeah. I had a beer called Prohibition Ale, but it was from Speakeasy Ales.
Oh,
Oh, you know what? That might be the name. I'm sorry.
are you,
okay.
are you lying to us, Huck?
I'm looking at
It's
a
one of
red
those
ale
moments
that
when
I
you're
had.
lying.
No,
I
I'm
had
just
two
having a
of it.
Mandela effect.
It's a hook
This-
up. It's a
this
hook
was
up.
It
in,
is a
uh,
hookup. You're right.
This was in 2014.
Yeah, that
I
sounds
had
about
two
right.
of them, and you toasted one of them. At Tribeca Paint. I don't even know
What?
what that was.
What?
What in the world were you doing?
I
Were you
have no
huffing
idea.
paint and drinking beer at the same time?
I don't know, but I don't
Captain.
know if that was a beer that existed. It was at 217 West Broadway, and it says it's a hardware store. I don't know. Or maybe there was a bar there, and now it's big Tribeca Paint, but that's what is listed.
Oh,
as
wait a second.
What's the
What's
address
the
again?
location again?
217 West Broadway.
Was that oh god, was that when Randolph had their NoHo location? Because that really
Maybe.
sounds like it might have
That
been
might be
Randolph's
it,
NoHo
yeah.
location.
2014. Oh,
Wow.
Randolph.
This
When
is a deep
Randolph
dive.
was
This is a
Randolph
deep
had their
dive.
No.
NoHo location. Yeah,
That
well,
was
back
not
when-
on West Broadway, though. Not on
No,
West Broadway.
where was that?
It was
I don't
over on
know.
the east side of, like, east of Broadway,
Got it.
essentially. I'd call it like
Wow.
Lower Bowery.
We'll
kind of
we'll get to
area.
the bottom of this before the next episode, but
But you're
Either
absolutely
way-
right. It is Speakeasy Ales, and I apologize to the folks
That's all
at
right.
Speakeasy. And they sell the Big Daddy at the Full Circle Brewing. So I'm like, oh,
Yeah.
that's a good beer to have.
well, now I have to look and see if there are any other speakeasies in here.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah,
I'm
'cause
just now- I'm
Prohibition
just-
Ale. I'm surprised we wouldn't have had it at Pony. Let me see
Oh,
if
I
have-
mean, I probably did. I'm now that I put in speakeasy, I'm getting a shit ton of things. Like I had.
yeah, that's
oh,
a real
oh, it's-
San Francisco brewery. They
Yeah, I've got one that's
been
called
around a
the
long
Barrel
time.
Ace Scarface Imperial Stout. I've got the Black Hand Chocolate Milk Stout. I've got Butchertown Black Ale, Scarlet
go.
Red Rye Ale, Payback Coffee Porter. Yeah, so a
and
lot
it
of good
says
stuff.
here on the Untapped subsidiary of Full Circle Brewing Company.
There
Oh,
you go.
boy.
So Fresno's taking over.
The Frez.
Well, get-
Also, Tribeca Paint was actually a bar in an old hardware store, and now it is an Ace Hardware.
Okay.
Oh,
Even though it's listed as Tribeca Paint when I look it up there.
Yeah,
the truth comes out.
That's
It always
wild.
does.
So it was just
So-
like maybe like a regular bar. Maybe it wasn't a beer bar, but they had a.
yeah.
You happened to be there one night. You were probably going to a movie or a show or something and
Yeah.
popped in.
Yeah. So I feel weird being the first one of us to do this since I already opened up saying that I'd had the most beers of everyone, but no one
Oh
else
my
is doing
God.
this yet. So I'm moving on to my second pour.
Bless us
Uh,
all.
And this is one, actually, this is a shout out to everyone from the City Brewers Beer. So we've talked a lot about how that's all Nashville this month, and we had a beer tonight from Southern Grist. It just so happens that I recently got, everyone heard on this podcast last time about I got my box of beers from Tavor, and I got some wonderful beers from Southern Grist here. So
Fun.
crossover continues. I had a wonderful what was it called? It was something crisp, but it was just a Schwartz beer. But this is one I haven't had yet, but never fear those of you who are listening who might be attending the next Stoutalooza. I have 2 of these.
Oh my.
So
Oh,
this
good.
maybe. But this is the one that when I did the Instagram live thing, I couldn't find the title anywhere on the bottle, and I still on the can, and I still can't. But now I know the name of it. This is the Southern Grist. It's a s'more stout. It's called Light It Up.
Oh God.
Well, because that's
Light
what
it
you
up,
do.
Cap.
You put the s'more in the fire and you light it up.
And you do. You make fire. You make fire
This
happen.
is like, and though this is a strong one, it's about 7%. So let's see what we got here.
Well, it's dark.
Oh my.
Oh,
That is
for sure.
dark.
But the head is
That's-
not insubstantial.
No,
Oh,
but it's beautiful looking beer.
Lightly
Yeah.
colored, yeah.
Honestly,
got
if I went to a paint store and I saw that color, I would buy that color of paint. Even if I hadn't drunk a beer or 2 in the back, questionably.
You can see there the s'more there where they're sort of pulling it apart. So you see the marshmallow there.
I see a milk stout and I want to paint it black.
Oh my God.
And we're back to the Stones again. It's all
It all
references
comes
within
full
references.
circle.
Yeah.
It all comes full circle. That's what we do here at the
Full Circle Brewing Company.
Yeah, this is
Oh my
definitely sweeter than the last one, but so far I like it a lot.
Oh dear, what have we even done, gentlemen?
I don't know.
I don't know. Whatever we did, I'm proud of us.
We are I think in the midst of producing what is it's wonderful that Globe Hopper is here because I think what's going on now is the highlight for many episodes for him.
Oh yeah, always.
It may be one of the finest episodes in Beer Ventures history.
I love second pour episodes. They're
Or
my
or
favorite.
or fourth pour.
Fourth.
And
Do you have your
I
fourth yet, Globe
almost-
Hopper?
I
or should we let
was
Huck move on to his?
actually,
Oh, he's
I was
working on his
actually
first though.
asking, you know what? I'm gonna bring in my fourth pour.
Yes,
Yeah.
you are. This
So,
is
I'm gonna-
we're all making good choices tonight. I'm proud of us.
And
So-
for anyone who's out there who's listening to us talking about this, we've been talking a lot to the City Brew Tours people, but if you're one of our listeners, please go listen to the City Brew Tours Beer Club podcast because even though you have to subscribe to see the live cast, they're free for everyone. So if you want to hear our first 2 pours, you can go listen to that there.
Yeah. So
Perfect.
so with this one, it's a beautiful bottle. So this is Maiz Azul, which is
Ooh.
blue corn, from La Brew. It's Cerveceria La Brew. They are as the Globe Hopper, I should bring international beers to the podcast.
You started with
Right.
the Czech Republic, and yeah.
Yeah, start with the Czech. So this is a ale brewed with Mexican blue corn.
Oh, my.
And they are a craft brewery out of Mexico,
I love it.
and basically just wanted to make beer that is using ingredients locally and just classic to their area.
And
I
it's
love
a
it.
it's a beautiful beer. That's the
Yeah.
thing you just have to acknowledge. It's just
Yeah.
a gorgeous looking beer.
Yeah.
I know this is a dirty glass, so I apologize. But
Yeah.
Oh, my gosh.
You know what?
um,
Honestly, we're all disappointed.
but it's beautiful. I have actually had this beer before,
Oh, okay.
and it is lovely every single time.
Nice.
Very light lager, Mexican lager, with it's technically a cream ale,
Mhm.
because does have that blue corn in there. But The head does dissipate almost immediately, but it's just lovely.
Excellent.
Yeah, it looks like the blue corn. I don't know if that gives it that darker color, but
Yeah, it gives it a little bit. Well,
I mean it's
my
amber
lighting.
color.
It's not. The
Well-
lighting is off. It would be
It's blue.
more.
It's actually blue.
It's actually blue. No, it would be more of like a straw color. My lighting is just off. But it is fairly see-through, and the blue corn gives it a really, really nice sweetness to it.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
So it's light, but it has like a sugary sweetness from the corn.
Is
Nice,
this our
okay.
first? Is this our first Mexican beer on the show?
That seems
Uh,
unlikely.
That does seem unlikely. I feel like we must have had one, but
May-
I
maybe
honestly,
the-
Globe
maybe
Hopper
the
would have
first-
brought it.
Maybe the first actual Mexican, but I feel
That's
like
what I'm
we've
saying.
had Mexican style before. No,
Of
I-
course,
We
of
have.
course.
Yeah.
We've
You may be
definitely had
very-
Mexican style, but maybe not actual beers from Mexico.
Yeah, I think you're probably you're probably right about that, Hook.
No one's brought a Pacifico on
Missed
No,
opportunity.
or a Victoria.
on Cheap Beer Day. What was that? What was that episode called?
Macromania, I think. is
Macromania.
what they
Macromania,
call it.
yeah. Well, look,
And-
I brought you the Boudlite, that classic
Yeah.
lime, Boudlite
Well,
Lime,
yeah.
Which is which, if you say it in the right misappropriation and cultural appropriation, it does become a Mexican beer, I guess. Because they were trying to make it Corona, right? That was their goal.
Yes, I think you're right.
Yeah.
So
I do think we've talked about the beers we've introduced our second pours. I did tease a little earlier that I wanted to talk about something from Ebbs.
Yes.
About a week
Yeah.
ago, I went to see this movie at the Village East Cinema
Mhm.
called Fingernails.
Yes, it's on the TV now. I haven't. Or it's on
Yeah,
Apple TV.
it's on the Apple thing, but I have this subscription where they give me a free movie every week in a theater, and that week it was Fingernails, and it's about this whole idea where you can tell if you're in love with someone if you just pull out each other's fingernails.
gross.
Oh,
It's like a clinic you go to, and
Gross.
they will pull out your
Gross.
fingernail and your partner's fingernails, and they will tell you, like, okay, you are not in love with each other,
Why are we
Or-
making these choices?
or one of you is in love with each other, the other person,
Right.
but we can't tell you which one because all we know is that it's 50%. Or
No.
yes, it's a positive test. You're both in love with each other.
it would be
No.
unethical to tell you.
No, they actually don't know.
Now, when you first said that, I thought that you were saying that you're in love with the other person if you pull their fingernail out.
Ugh.
No,
And,
that would be.
they still love you.
Ugh.
I'd
Oh,
like
I
to see
still
that
love you,
movie
babe.
too. But yeah, this whole deal is I mean, my only criticism of the movie is at the end, I couldn't figure out if this was real science or a society that had been gaslighted into believing it was real science. But that's not my larger point. My larger point is it's right across the street
Not the
from the
beer.
11th Street Ale House.
Oh, okay. Yeah, that's a good point.
And I didn't realize that Ebbs had started making a barrel aged stout.
Oh,
And of
okay.
course, because of the way they name their beers, it's called Barrel Number One.
Right, naturally.
Huck and Beer Wonder. I sent you pictures of it,
Yes,
You did,
Uh,
yes, I
photo,
recall.
yeah.
but I was very excited. It was a really good beer, and the story. There's not much more to the story than that. But I just
And then you found $5 and learned the true meaning of Christmas.
sure. Let's say that. Let's wrap it up with a pretty bow.
Well, we're bordering on the holiday season, so
Yeah, we're right up
Sure,
against
yeah,
it.
sure. Yeah, I know. You were saying earlier you wanted to talk about your Thanksgiving plans.
Yeah, what are your Thanksgiving plans?
well, mine are less exciting. What I want to know is about one of Globe Hopper's truly beautiful moments that I know happens, which is the acquisition of the Christmas tree via New York City Transit.
Yes. So I always call it the pilgrimage
Yes,
of the Christmas tree.
Praise it.
Because why would I use a car when I can
Yep.
use the subway? So
you've made
every-
excellent points already.
yeah, every Black Friday, Saturday-ish, right around that time, we get a tree on sale, and then we transition it back to our place in Brooklyn via public transit. And so I haven't done it yet. Obviously, we're week and a half out, but always looking forward to it. Last year, the trees came fresh from Canada and actually still had snow on them,
Oh,
and so I actually got yelled at by the conductor because I usually try to hit middle of the train because that's where you have the open spot for the handicaps near
that's
the
right.
conductor booth.
Hmm.
But the snow started to melt during
Oh,
the trip, and the liquid started to go into the conductor booth,
mm.
which is not a problem, except he came out and was like, "Is that?" I was like, "It's just ice." He's like, "Okay," and then he went back in,
Oh,
because
he thought you'd had an incident.
yes,
Mm.
he thought I had an incident. I did not. I was like, "It's just snow," and he was perfectly fine. But yeah, no, that's the yearly tradition is getting a tree, usually from Whole Foods, and then we just take it on the train back to Brooklyn.
Now, it's adorable tradition, but is there not maybe a tree place within walking distance, or that's
Nope,
just
nope.
no? There's not.
It's the neighborhood you live in, if I recall, Globe Hopper, is not necessarily one where the
Christmas is not celebrated
not
there.
really that neighborhood's not really going for the Christmas thing. We do, if we wanted to talk
Uh,
Hanukkah, we could maybe get some traction there.
yeah, they're going
Okay.
for more of the menorah candlelight kind of vibe.
Yeah, if you
Um,
went to drag a giant menorah down the street,
I
that
could
would
get that
make more
next door.
sense. Yeah,
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 yeah, yeah. Christmas trees, not so much.
yeah.
I think the last Christmas tree I had was around 2007.
Well,
Yeah.
what was the occasion?
Yeah. Why?
Uh,
Did you just feel like
I,
it?
this is the thing is like when this comes up, a little bit it came out on the last episode when I talked about the time I woke up in Coney Island.
Yes.
Is that
Good time.
I once was living with a person who it was important to that person that we had a real Christmas tree, and it
Okay.
had to be a real Christmas tree every time,
I recall
and
now. Yeah.
it was often my responsibility to get that, even though it wasn't my choice to have that,
Hmm.
and somehow it was often my responsibility to dispose of that,
Oh,
and I
sounds like a lot of responsibility.
It did. So when I stopped having that responsibility, I fully embraced it, and I've never had a Christmas tree since. It's not that I'm anti-Christmas or even anti-Christmas tree, but it was one of those things where I was just relieved to, like, in making a life transition, like, well, there's something I never have to do again.
Listen, if I didn't
Okay.
live with Cider Girl, I would never have any decorations for any
Well, there you
holidays
go. That's
ever
where I
anywhere.
am. But yeah.
Not that I
But
hate them, I just wouldn't bother.
that's what I'm saying. I don't bother because I celebrate things in my own ways.
Yeah.
We probably talked about my balls on the show before.
Oh, yeah,
Yeah,
we have
I don't know if
discussed
we
your balls
have, but
in
I know
That
about
no,
is
we
the.
have
that
in detail. In detail.
that is
I've
a
had those
holiday
balls
tradition.
melting in my mouth before, so I mean, I
Yeah,
know
I,
what you're
I always
talking about.
enjoy. I enjoy sharing my balls with everyone.
As you should.
I these are chocolate balls with bourbon and
Oh
sour
yes,
cream
you
in
should
it.
explain that to the
Yes,
folks
I
who
might
might
I
be
as
yeah,
well.
listening.
I
well,
Yeah.
should,
we
especially if
have
we
to
have new
keep the
listeners.
explicit rating.
Because I vaguely made a reference on the previous podcast that we were on. I can't. We're going back and forth between Beervengers listeners, City Brew Tours listeners. But yeah, I make a lovely sweet treat every year.
And they're
Involving
balls.
they're in the shape
They
of
are
balls.
delicious.
They have chocolate, sour
And they
cream,
are delicious.
bourbon, and powdered sugar. And yeah, I agree, they are delicious.
Yeah,
And thank
the
you for
powdered
saying that
sugar
too.
the powdered sugar really brings it all together. I'm just saying. If they're
I think
not
so. I think
covered in
you're right.
powdered sugar, why are you even doing it?
Who knows? Maybe
Um,
I'll even, when I was talking before about Stoutapalooza, or did I talk about?
yes. You mentioned it, yes.
I mentioned it because the if anyone is worried who's coming to Stoutapalooza, this is one. I still have another one of these in the refrigerator because I have been slowly sampling. I've probably had about a dozen of them at this point, but I've only been sampling the ones that I have doubles of. So anyone who's coming to Stoutapalooza, you may have an opportunity to sample them there.
Very true. Well, here's the thing: we've covered the holidays. We've gotten out of pumpkin beer season. Thank goodness. At least that's my opinion. I know Globe Hopper has additional thoughts on that, but I think we may have solved the world's beer needs, at least for this time around.
Yeah,
Unless anyone has anything else to. Well, here's the thing: we have all sorts of new listeners, and here's the thing: I know they've been enthralled
Yeah,
because
I mean, because
we've
we're always enthralling.
we've hit the heights of Beervengerdom. Plus, we have the Globe Hopper here, which is always a good time. But
Yes.
if folks who come over from CBTBC would like to get in touch with the Beervengers, where should they look? Oh, Captain, my Captain.
Oh, that's so easy. You have to just put that little @ symbol, the one that's above the 2 on your keyboard. Is it the same on a cell phone? I don't know. I guess in cell phones it's separate keyboards. But yeah, hit that @ symbol and put the word THE, also pronounced most often as the. Or
Usually.
if you're in France and you're saying T, you would say te. But THE, Beervengers, at the Brewvengers, all one word, and you can see that on Instagram and Facebook and reluctantly on Twitter or X, whatever the fuck it's called now.
X.
We don't
Call it
really
by its Christian name. Okay,
we don't
it's
do anything
X.
on there, but if you send us a message there, we'll try and respond. But we don't go there very often, or just we can reach us at thebeervengers@gmail.com. Or and you can send us an email there, DM us on the other things, and if you do that, we'll respond. We have some people who reach out frequently on there. I want to say give a shout out to the why am I blanking on the name? Pairings. The pairings.
Acquired
Arkansas
Tastings.
guy. Acquired Tastings. So this is my 4th beer, and they've all been pretty high in ABV. Yes,
I'm proud of
Acquired
you.
Tastings, because I think they reach out to us more than anyone else, and we don't mention it every time, and they're great. And we have other people too, and we'll mention you if you reach out to us. We'll talk about you on the show, and we're very happy you're all listening now.
Yeah. Well,
Uh,
and since we may also have Beervengers who may want to hang out with CBTBC, or however we're pronouncing it now, Globe Hopper, tell us, where should they look if they want to hang out with you a little bit more as well?
So they can find us on YouTube and any of podcast place at the City Brew Tours Beer Club or and also shop at citybrewtours.com.
Yeah, get the holiday
you go.
boxes. They're so much fun.
So
They
much
really
fun. And you will see me there during the holiday boxes live streams as well.
Yes. Oh,
Very
that's
cool.
another excellent reason to go get the holiday boxes. Not only are they a ton of
Yes.
fun, but getting to hang out with Globe Hopper, solid 10.
Yep.
Maybe
Yes.
even 11.
It's a win-win situation. And yeah, I think that's all we have for you today. Thanks everyone for listening. Come back next time, and Huck, play us out.
Oh, we're the Beervengers, Beervengers, Beervengers. We're the Beervengers, we're the Beervengers, Beervengers, Beervengers. We're the Beervengers.